Longtime Cary wrestling coach Jerry Winterton here. Coach, you are in numerous halls of fame, one of the most legendary high school wrestling coaches in the country, in the National High School Hall of Fame. Because of that, appreciate you taking the time to reflect on some of that with me here today. Before we talk about Cary and all the championships, though, take me back to growing up. When you were inducted into the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame, you talked about growing up on a dairy farm in upstate New York and how that impacted uh, your how you've approached coaching and wrestling and everything else. What was that like growing up, and what did that teach you?
Well, growing up on a farm with woods and streams and farm animals and uh, deer and all that, obviously a country kid, and I was fortunate that I had two older brothers, and they got saddled with all the work, and I was number three, and I was just getting into the hard work, and when they did an interview for me with the Sports Hall of Fame, I was saying that, um, but it sounded like I had done all the work. But I was lucky I had two older brothers, but they did teach me how to get into sports and dodge some chores. They were getting up at early in the morning, that kind of thing. So it was a mixture as a childhood, really great atmosphere to grow up in and to learn what hard work is um, and how it pays off. And all so there was four boys and a girl who was born 7 years after the young, and it was a great childhood and way to come up. And of course, my older brothers, they right away got into sports, and my oldest brother was a big influence on me, of course, like my parents. But my oldest brother, he was pushed me into wrestling. He thought I'd be a real good wrestler, and I told him I'm a better basketball player. I'm sure, and he said, "No, you don't understand," And so a lot of great influences on my life early.
What what grabbed you about the sport of wrestling?
Um, I, First of all, I think I wasn't that good, and I started in fifth grade, but I struggled along and hung in there and worked hard. And what I like about it is you don't share the glory with everybody else, and you don't share the pain with everybody else. You go out and do your job, do the best you can, and if you can get your teammates to do the same as a wrestler, um, then the team will win, and that's the ultimate goal.
When did you decide that coaching might be the path you wanted to take?
I always wanted to be a coach. That's crazy. Crazy that you asked me that. When I was in third grade, I saw my first gymnasium, and I remember the first day. I was like, "This is what I want to do. I just want to be in here and be able to play." And as I grew up, I wrestled. I played a little soccer. I played a little football. In the fall, I had three different sports over the years, cross country and that type of thing. But they were all minor sports, basically, ninth grade football. Um, and so I always pictured myself uh, not being able to be a coach. You got to be baseball, basketball, and football. That was just what I thought. And then I went to college, and I was in junior college in data processing. And I came home and said to my mother, she goes, "How's it going?" I said, "I hate it. Well, what do you want to do?" I said, "I want to be a coach, but I can't be a coach really. I'm just good at wrestling." And she goes, "Yeah, you can be a coach." And so when I transferred to the 4 year school, I went into PE and of course, just loved it.
Oh, I did. We almost ended up without Coach Jerry Winterton. You were going to go into a completely different field. That's That would
in
be a
in
wild alternate history.
in several ways. When I went to the junior college, I go to the wrestling room the first day, of course, and this guy walks in and he goes, "Are you thinking about wrestling?" I said, "Yeah, I'm not very good," but he said, "Well, I'm the new wrestling coach." I said, "Oh, really?" He goes, "Yeah, my name's Bob Guzzo," and I was like, "Oh, okay. Do you know anything about leg wrestling?" And he goes, "Yeah, I can teach you a couple things." So Bob Guzzo of NC State was at his first college job, 1969, in a small junior college up at on the Canadian border in New York.
Oh,
So that's how weird is that?
that that's a small world.
Yeah.
How tell us how you ended up in North Carolina and um what brought you here and eventually led you to high school.
And that's it. I wrestled for him for 2 years, transferred to a 4 year school. I always started all the way through ninth grade through college. I always started, and but I missed my coach Bob Guzzo at the 4 year school, um, and he got the job at NC State, and I stayed in close touch with him. I was one of his favorites, and we got along great. And he asked me to come down when I was 24 years old. I got married on a Saturday and was in my apartment in Raleigh on Monday, and was grad assistant for him for 2 years. That's what brought me down. And I'd never been out of New York State, never been anywhere. I was like, I look back at it, I'm like, did I really have the guts to make that move and leave my family, leave everybody I knew, except for my wife, and that was my first wife. But yeah,
What what did your time coaching at NC State um teach you about coaching that later carried over into coaching the high school level?
Bob Guzzo. Bob Guzzo taught me everything about wrestling, taught me everything I knew. Of course, over the years, as he was coaching in college, I didn't really get to see him as much. I was busy with the high school wrestling, and but I would always follow his lead and go to clinics. Not with him, but I mean, I'd go to any time there was some kind of a clinic that I could attend. I'd go and pick up different things to add to the great foundation I had with him. So
Why did you choose high school coaching?
that I get another great question. My whole uh, object was to get a college job, and I had two or three opportunities when I got out of college. Uh, I didn't have my master's, and I missed out on a job. I would guy told me, "I hand it to you right now, but you got to have a master's." And then when Guzzo left Canton, I was going to take his job, and the AD was willing to work with me without a master's, and I'd work on it. But they dropped wrestling. Title IX wiped out all the junior colleges. New York had 30 some junior college wrestling programs. And I think right now there's only about two or three up there. And so that was getting throttled. And so, and I also saw what Coach Gusso did, what he had to do with a 4 year school and be on the road recruiting. Your livelihood is in the hands of college kids and that type of thing. So I went to a more solid route and did the high school wrestling. And I had opportunities throughout the years to coach maybe Campbell, Pembroke. Those jobs opened up. Most of the time, jobs don't open up in wrestling. There's no professional wrestling, which Guzzo would have been one of the best professionals ever. But they get that college job and they hold on to it for 35, 40 years.
What was high school wrestling in Wake County like back in the late 70s, early 80s?
It was raw. It was new. Uh, I tell people I was so fortunate to have wrestled in New York, which was a very competitive wrestling state. Well, I'm seeing posts on Facebook of wrestling in 1933 and 1934 on the New York site, and down here we didn't get started till 1965 or so. So I was only 10 years old when I started in high school, basically. The programs, but there were good wrestling schools here. Pembroke, ECU was one of the best. Was the best, with along with Appalachian State. So there were good programs. People were coming out, and the high school caught up and is still catching up. The
Uh,
high school programs.
your first high school job was at East Wake, right?
That's correct.
And then you went to Cary in 81.
That's right.
How did that opportunity come about? And what was the wrestling program like at Cary when you got there?
John Sanderson, another icon. That guy, he was a great coach, and those kids worked hard. When I got the job after the first week of practice, the captains said, "Coach, can we talk to you?" I said, "Yeah." They said, "You're not working us hard enough." I said, "What? No, we're okay. We pace ourselves a little bit at the beginning. If you want to work extra, work on your time. Practice time, we're not going to take out," because they said, "Coach, we didn't even run 5 miles before we started practice." I said, "No, if you want to do that kind of stuff, you do it on your own. I want to get all the drills and things in that I needed to." But I realized right away that John Sanderson was tough, hard-nosed coach on the kids, very fair, and the kids loved him because he was just he didn't ask them to do anything that they couldn't do. And so, anyways, the program was already established, but the numbers were low. Even though we had junior high wrestling, East Cary and West Cary, there wasn't a lot of kids that carried it over to the high school because they saw how hard they worked. So, anyways, that was one of the first things I did was try to bump up the number of kids.
That was going to be my next question is once you took over, what were some of the first things you had to do to lay the foundation for the kind of program that you wanted to build and eventually did?
I was just trying to carry on the tradition of John Sanderson, really. But I had my own little quirks, which was a loaded wrestling room loaded with kids, because you can take a kid that doesn't know anything about this sport, not the other sports, and work with them for a year, and they can be competitive. That's the thing. People say, "Well, how come the wrestling program's so good in football or basketball or one of the other programs isn't doing as well?" I said, "Well, every kid picks up a ball when they're 5 years old and plays with it, and they all know the sport by the time they're whatever grade, but nobody starts wrestling that early." And that's all I had to do is try to get them to start early, and start it all, and try to get the ones that in 8th and 9th grade when the boys, particularly the boys, they want to do something. They want to get involved in something. And so that's what I did, try to pump up the numbers and get the drills that I had learned through my years of wrestling and Coach Guzzo, etc.
Cary, in your time there, did not just have a few great teams. It was sustained success over decades. What allowed the program to experience success and to win for that long at that rate?
Yeah, when I retired, and I really coached all the way up till 2 years ago, really till this year, because I did the club too after I stopped coaching with the high school. So when I started, I had no idea of the amount of success that we would have. All I was trying to do is make this particular group of kids the best group of kids I could. And when I stepped down and had more time and retired from teaching, I started looking up these things, and I just couldn't believe some of the things that we had done in the 80s and 90s. and up to 2010 when I retired, but and really carried through with Coach Taylor Cummins, who took over for me. He allowed me to run the practices, although he ran them with me, but I was the lead guy kind of. But he was a great wrestler, and we both shared what we knew, uh, and he was there till 2017, and we were so close. People would say, "How come you haven't won a state championship?" I said, "Well, winning them, it's not that easy for one thing, and it's not on his shoulders. I'm running the practice as much as he is. It's on my shoulders too. We're like a kid or two away from winning it." And then when he moved on, Coach Cummins his wife got another job and he had to move out of state. Anthony Dunbar came in and we won the state championship. It was so weird. I felt so bad for Taylor Cummins. He's like, "What are you guys doing? This crushes me," but he was happy for us. So we did win in 2018.
When you would have a freshman come in and maybe they had not wrestled before, maybe they had, but they were still freshmen coming into high school, a big change for anybody. What did you want them to understand immediately about the Cary wrestling program and what it meant to be part of that?
I'm thinking of a story, but I don't know. I won't mention any names. So this kid moves in I won't even say the state because some people will say, "Oh, I know who he's talking about." But he moves in, and his family moved from a state far away. Comes in, and the first thing I did was, of course, meet him and the parents, and we went to summer camp. He got there early enough to go to the camp we went to. He was doing a good job. I could tell he was very talented. And he got pinned and he came off the mat. And I said, "What?" I got it right in. I said, "What are you doing getting pinned? You're from that wrestling state. That's a great wrestling state. You don't come to North Carolina, let a North Carolina kid pin you. What are you thinking?" He goes, "Oh, well, it happens a lot." And that's just how he said, "Oh, that happens a lot." And I kind of lost it a little bit. I was like, "What? That ain't going to happen here. You're done doing that. You're not getting pinned here. We don't get pinned at Cary," that type of thing. So there's that motivation you try to instill in him. He's a great kid, but I don't think I've ever had a kid that I didn't think I could help, no matter how skilled he was, how good he was. If they moved in, and we had some move in, that was an advantage we had at Cary. I won't say the nasty word, recruiting. I never recruited a kid in my life. The parents are move into an affluent area like Raleigh. Immediately, they're looking for the best wrestling program if their kid's a wrestler, and we were doing the best. So, and I never told any parents, "No, you can't come here. We'll make your kid better if this is where," but you have to live in our district and our rules, and the boundaries. You have to be in our district, and those were the kids we had. So, I'm not sure I answered your question there, but
No, the answer is the freshmen need to know you don't get pinned at Cary, right?
yeah, this kid was he was a sophomore, um, and he ended up doing a good job. But I guess my point is, I think I have something to offer to any kid, even after they've wrestled 3 or 4. Some kids come in, they've wrestled since they were 7 years old. But with our drills and what we do, I can help a kid get better.
When you saw the championships and there was long winning streaks in dual team, um, expectations obviously go up over time, right? So how did you keep the success from becoming, I don't know if the right word is like an entitlement for the kids who are joining the Cary program? Like, I'm at Cary, I should win.
Uh, they had such competition amongst themselves in the room. Not we never were 2 or 3 deep every weight, nothing like that. We didn't have that kind of depth. But they had tough kids to wrestle, and they will always strive to be better than the guy that was above them in the weight class or the guy below them. And they pushed themselves, and you have that goal at the end. You want to be a state champion, and I don't care what state you're in. It's not easy, and they know that, and they work hard. Again, that's a good thing about it being an individual sport. They work hard to be the best they can be, and that's all. That's up to them, and I pointed them away. And that group of seniors is so important. They when they get to be sophomores and juniors, is thinking, I want to be that guy when I'm a senior, and those kids lead them and do a lot of the work for you.
What do you remember about the first champion?
The
first championship. What do you remember about that?
Well, I always regretted that in 1987, the state went to 4A, 3A, 2A, 1A. And I wanted to win that championship when we were all together. And we were always close. We took 4th my first year and 7th. But when you have everybody that many, you had to go through sectionals to qualify regionals. You had to go through that to get to the state. And you just had to have not even a handful, 3 good wrestlers, you could win the state. And we just didn't pull it off. But in 1987, they had split them. And I really think that 87 team would have won the 3A or 2A also. But really solid, great team, hardworking kids. And of course, it was quite a thing to win that championship with those kids. Phil Gray, to this day, he's a lawyer in town, and he's like one of our biggest supporters and one of my biggest supporters. Matter of fact, I was in his wedding. And he was the state champion there. He was my second state champion. My first year in 1982, that first year, 81, 82, Jeff Farrell was my first state champion. Great guys, hard workers, very talented and successful in their jobs and so forth.
Are there other championship teams or seasons that really stand out to you when you look back and think about all of the seasons you coached at Cary?
It's kind of weird that 87 was one of the best teams I ever had. 97 was one of the best teams, and 2007 may have been the best. I don't want to start that. Those guys will get after me for sure. But and of course, the teams the year before, year after were going to be good. If you have that many good kids one year, some of them are still there that next year, or they're brewing to be that good. So those teams were outstanding. But the 2007 team, we went up to New York. I always wanted to take a team up to New York. So I decided I'm going to take this team up. I didn't know it was going to be one of our best, but I knew it was a good, solid team. We went up to New York, and we won. It was a tournament of 25 teams, and there were several sectional champion teams. Section is the next thing to state. And some of them had placed in state and all that. It was a stacked tournament. And we won by 100 points. We won by 99.5 points the tournament, and blew my mind. I ran into this guy at the coffee shop the day before the tournament, and he goes, "I know why you're here. You come up here to beat us." And I said, "No." I said, "I think we can be in the top 5, but look at the teams that are in this tournament." And then we ended up winning by 100 points. And so next time I saw him, of course, he let me have it, but that team was loaded. Joey Farnsworth, the lightweight, who was on the dream team, and later on, and Elohim Palma, who was on the dream team. I mean, dream team's like the best kid in the whole country. and I had two of them, one at lowest, one at the highest, and Thomas Ferguson, two-time preseason national champ in the middle, the Corns. I mean, it was loaded.
Cary went years at a time without losing a regular season duel. Um, did you always feel like Cary was going to get the other team's best shot?
Oh yeah, I mean they were be really pumped up to wrestle Cary. That kind of snuck up on me. The dual meet thing. You know, going into it in 1981, I wasn't trying. I wasn't even thinking about how many losses we're going to have, you know, and that type of thing. But that first after the first season, we had one loss, and then we went from 82 to 1990, those years without losing. Then we lost another one, and then again in 92, something like that. So we lost 3 dual meets. Well, after the 92, it was on my mind, and I really didn't really want to lose any more matches if I could. You know, of course, I felt that way. I always wanted to win every one of them, but my point is, I'll agree with people that say, "Well, you didn't wrestle anybody." No, I did not go out of state and challenge people all over the country to wrestle. No, but we did our schedule and always put 3 or 4 really tough teams outside our conference, outside our regional, on the schedule, and we were fortunate that we kept it rolling.
Well, you spoke about the 2017 and the surprise win by 100 points in New
Yeah,
York.
and
Was there ever was there ever a team that maybe you weren't sure were going to be very good, but they really surprised you once the season got here?
yeah. Well, I thought you were pertaining to a team that I wasn't sure we could beat, and there were several, but one of the first ones was a real challenge in I think it was '87, and there was no way we're supposed to beat them. The other coaches were coming and saying, "You'll win 5 out of the 13." Back then it was 13 weights. You'll win 5 matches, but they're just loaded. They're just killing everybody. And it was High Point Andrews. They were 3A, we were 4A, and they won the 3A, huge. But it was a big meet at a neutral site, and we ended up beating them 30. I think it was 37-17. We ended up winning 8 matches, and they won 5. So that was one of the first big steps. Where I saw these kids can do more than you think they can.
When you think about all the wrestlers that you have coached over the years, um, you've mentioned some like Elohim Palma, but are there competitors or personalities that like really stand out and personify Cary wrestling under Jerry Winterton?
When I'm thinking of those top kids that I had, they were all so competitive. Just you you can't really coach that. You try to, and you try to, but these kids had it inside them, and it comes from their parents. Their parents were competitive people. Um, which when I first got the job at Cary, uh, I said to one of the Cary parents, I said, "Well, I've been out at East Wake, and those are tough country kids. They work all day, cotton fields, and working hard jobs all day in the summer, and then they go to school. Then they got to go home, and during wrestling season, wrestling's easy for them. They hardworking country kids." And he goes, "Jerry, you don't understand. These kids' parents, yes, they work at IBM, but they didn't get that house and they didn't get them jobs by sitting around doing nothing. Their parents are hardworking people. And a friend of mine used to say, he came over to our practice room one day and he goes, this drives me crazy. The little boys come in, they put their glasses on the little thermometer thing there, the little cage for the thermometer. They put their glasses on there and they proceed to beat the heck out of my boys. So that was the type of kids we had, but they tough and worked hard.
I know you told the story at the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame about how you keep in touch with all of your wrestlers still, all these years later. When Cary wrestlers get back together, or when they're in the same room as each other, what's one of the stories that gets told all the time?
I think you stumped me. I'm talking my head off here, but I'm not sure.
That means there's got to be some, and you can't tell them publicly. That's okay. That's okay. Well, I'm gonna shift gears a little bit. You got to Cary in the early '80s. You were obviously in Raleigh before that, but what those two places, Cary, Wake County in general, has changed really dramatically over that time. How did that growth change the school and the athletic department and the sense of community that exists around high school sports? Oh, did we lose you? You watched Cary and Wake County change pretty dramatically during your career. How did the growth change Cary High School and the athletic department and the sense of community within high school sports as well?
Yes, it has changed. When I first got here and came down to work with Coach Guzzo in '75, there was like 5,000 people in Cary. And then I talked to the old timers to talk about going out. Kildare Farm Road, and the barn was still up, and it was a dirt road after the barn uh, before you even got into the outskirts of Cary. But yeah, it grew from in '75 or when I started coaching in '81. Um, Cary was the what do I call it? What's the closest to the Research Triangle Park? The uh, bed, what's the word? Anyways, the
It's where a lot of the people who moved here for Research Triangle Park
yeah,
moved to.
um, and so if a family moved in, they wanted to be close to getting on 40 and getting out to Research Triangle Park and that type of thing. And so Cary was booming. But then, as you know, everything has blown up. And I started out in Nightdale, and my son actually lives in Nightdale now, and it's just unbelievable. The outskirts of the Raleigh area, how it just exploded, and all the high schools popped up, and all the new houses with a little bit of land with them, and that type of thing. So when people moved in, they moved more or less not so much in Cary. Cary's kind of the older homes and the older folks, and not as many people as move-ins. So that definitely affected the sports at Cary. We're still competitive and still good, hardworking kids and that type of thing. But um, yeah, the it was weird having the Holly Springs and Middle Creeks and all these schools, and of course the ones that are popping up here, Willow Spring, and the ones that are coming up new this year.
Yeah,
So,
new Morrisville High School next year,
is that
which
is that going to be the name
uh,
of it?
Yeah, Morrisville High School. Yep.
That's
Um,
the first I've heard of that.
uh-huh. Yeah, what comes with all those new schools though is it impacts the traditions and the rivalries within high school sports, right? Because back in the day, it was Cary and Apex, and Cary and Garner was a big rivalry. What were the big rivalries for Cary wrestling? Was it the same?
Yeah, our conference, Apex and Garner at the beginning, but the biggest rival we had right out of the blocks was Sanderson High School. They were in the old Cap 8, and they had a good coach, Dale Warren, real good coach, and him and I were good friends. But we battled fiercely. And that first year, they beat us all three times. We wrestled them in the duel, sectionals, regionals, and I can't remember if at the state one of us was third and the other was fourth by half a point. But anyways, they were loaded, and they were our first rival. Then the next year we came back and beat them pretty good. So and then later on it was Apex. There was that was kind of the start of that, where people were moving more to Apex and outskirts where they had a little more room and that type of thing. And they beat us, and then we lost to Orange one time. Those were our three losses on dual meets. Of course, in the state playoffs, we lost 13 times, but we won 82. So uh, that's pretty good for being in the playoffs, 82 and 13. But yeah,
Pretty good when you can count all of your dual losses on your hands and feet.
crazy.
That is kind of crazy. I guess one of the good things though that has come with all the growth is that participation in wrestling has grown over the years too. We even have girls wrestling, a sanctioned sport now in North Carolina. How do you feel about the status of the sport of wrestling with the addition of things like girls wrestling and getting more students involved in that sport?
Is definitely booming. It's great, and the girls wrestling, I think that's great. My daughter wrestled; she was very good, but she moved on and played four sports, and wrestling wasn't one of them. But she took second in AAU states, as a matter of fact, against the boys when she was fourth grade, and then she went on. But so it's a good thing for the girls for sure. I was at the state tournament like 2 years ago. I go every year, but 2 years ago when it was first sanctioned and they're out there wrestling, I said something's different. The stands, there's just so many more people here. I don't understand. Not it's always crowded out there, or there's always a bunch of people. But then I said, oh, the girls. So that's really helped the girls and boys programs.
The individual wrestling state championship environment is really unique.
Yeah.
It's really a special place. What can a teenager learn through playing high school sports, particularly when they're a wrestler, that maybe you don't learn the same way, or maybe you don't learn at all elsewhere?
No, organized sports are so good for kids. They have a strong coaching figure that they, and usually that coach has two or three assistants, and then so they learn from good, solid adults. I know I tell people this. I did ISS when I first came to Cary. They didn't have a PE position, so I coached football actually, and wrestling, and I did the ISS. Well, um, they dropped middle school. They dropped when the middle school came in. They dropped the junior high athletic programs. The middle school, they were going to drop all the athletic programs, and your dad would tell you about that. Um, but they held on to football and basketball. Those people went nuts and said, but there was wrestling, track, baseball, all dropped. And the reason was they didn't want that much competition hindering the little sixth, seventh, and eighth grade boys and girls. It was too hard for them to be competitive like that. And I went to the AD at the time, and I was like, I just went to an ISS meeting, and you're talking about trouble, disruptive kids. And they told us that what these kids need is a strong male figure. They need discipline. They need structure. And I said, you're talking about an athletic program, and you're cutting athletic programs, and it's just exactly what these troubled kids need. So
The impact of high school sports is well documented, for sure, and that's definitely one of the benefits. When you did finally step away from coaching every day, what was there anything you really missed about it?
I love the practices. I love going to practice and working with the kids. And when the matches came around, seeing them actually succeed with the techniques and the drills we've been doing, and seeing it pay off, and being able to go. Uh, I, I I think one of the things I did that was good while I was in the corner was just say, "Good, good, 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 good," and instead of you berate them, which sometimes you'd get angry, like we just went over that. But anytime they started to do something and break in the corner and started turn the match around a little bit, that good, 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 good just fed into them. It seemed like, and just being at practice. That was one of the things in 2010. The reason why I retired, I had open heart surgery, had a valve replaced, and my youngest son was graduating, and the pressure of that record, and just my own pressure I put on myself. I got out. I stayed on and did the coaching at the practices, because that's what I like to do. Now there's two of us. Basically, in my mind, we got two head coaches, and we split the duties, and that just made the position so much easier. I didn't have to drive the bus. I didn't have to do all the paperwork. I wasn't responsible, although I did a lot of work with the parents. So, yeah, I got to choose the things I liked, which was just basically practice and showing up at the meets and coaching, that type of thing.
When you look back at the coaching career that you had at Cary and before, what are you most proud of?
Oh, I don't know. There's I like I said, when I started writing some things down and putting it down, I was like, wow, I don't remember that. How did that happen? I mean, I knew we had, like, one of the things that stands out to me beyond the record. Obviously, the record is ridiculous, but beyond that was I knew we had four champs. Like in 1998, we had four champs, at four state champs on one team, unheard of in my mind. And then because coming from New York, it just don't happen. But then I looked again and said, "Whoa, yeah, that's right. We had four in 2000. Oh wait, we had seven in the finals in 2003. No, oh yeah. Oh, we had, in 2006, 7, and 8. We had 4, 4, and 5. So multiple times you have, and not just in the finals, but champions. The 2003 team was really strong. We had 7 in the finals. We didn't do that any other time, but only 2 won. That was crazy. But yeah, it's things like that. The trip to New York, what happened there. There's a handful of things that really stand out.
One last question for you. Someday when people who never saw one of your teams uh, wrestle at Cary and they ask why Jerry Winterton mattered so much to Cary High School, why is his name in the gym? Why is he in all these halls of fame? What do you hope someone tells them about Jerry Winterton?
Uh, I would like to say that I was fair and I worked the kids hard, but I was fair and I didn't overdo it. And we didn't work. Hey, I don't want to take anything away from the kids that wrestle year round. If they can work year round and be happy with it and be content with that without having to be berated by their parents, pushed too hard, and that type of thing. God bless them. That's great. But I always felt this way that we did enough in our practice time and in our period of time from the end of October, very end of October, beginning of November, to March, the beginning of March. If I felt like we did enough in our practice time uh, to make them good wrestlers. Then when that was over, I didn't make them do anything except go to camp in the summer, and I did my best. And you can't make a kid go to camp, but the kids would do that. We'd take 25, 30 kids to camp because that was the first event to get ready for the next year. I'm going to find out who my senior captains are, who my leaders are. I'm going to find out who can wrestle at these weights. And after camp was over in July, didn't do anything again, until October. But so I pushed them in that time period within the rules. We didn't have 3 or 4 hour practices like that, or we didn't break any rules. Never ever went anywhere near the gym on a Sunday. We didn't do things against the rules, but we got we worked hard when we had our time in the room.
Jerry Winterton, the longtime wrestling coach at Cary High School. Appreciate the time talking today, and appreciate all the reflection, and congratulations on your recent induction into the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame.
I appreciate what I'd like to also say. I appreciate